It has been said that success leaves clues. And on this week's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, we want to expose 2 clues that the clients of ours who do the best consistently implement in their life. We're going to hear our introduction and dive right into this conversation. Hey, welcome back everybody to the Exercise is Health podcast, brought to you by Muscle Activation Schaumburg. We're your hosts, Charlie
and Julie.
And today we are discussing a little bit off the topic of exercise specifically, but things that definitely influence exercise, working out, lifestyle choices, things like that. And they are these clues that the clients of ours that many people would deem most successful in terms of like the results they're getting and what they are able to achieve in their life and whatever it is, right? These are 2 things that we see time and again. Clients who have the best results from us, who have the most success, consistently implement within their life. And we find that when people can go from not implementing them to implementing them, a lot can change for them, not only with the results that they see working with us, but just the results overall that they get from their life. So that's what I want to share with you today. And I want to let you know that if you want to start taking action on what we're talking about today, it's exactly what we can help you with at our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg, where we specialize in muscle activation techniques. So all you need to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to our website, www.matschaumburg.com. Click the big green button that says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. Okay, so this idea of success leaving clues, this is true in so many walks of life. And our practice, our business, working with clients, and muscle activation techniques, strength training, everything like that. That's no exception to this rule. We see time and time again that when clients do the best, they display at least one, if not, but more than likely both of these characteristics. And when you can understand what these characteristics are and start implementing them within your own life, a lot can change for you, because we have seen that also be the case where clients come in not displaying these characteristics, and then they start changing and implementing and displaying these characteristics, and a lot does change for them. So we want to talk with you about that today.
That's right. So the first one, I want to actually start and give you a little backstory too of how I realized, like, oh my gosh, my really successful clients use this principle. And they probably don't even realize they're using this principle, but we have seen it time and again. So we recently had an au pair move in with us, and she speaks like a British English. So it's a very proper form of English. And in the first couple weeks when she was trying to like ask me questions and figure out like what she should be doing to help out, she wouldn't say like, hey Julie, should I go get the towels for the pool? She would go, must I get the towels for the pool? And I would say, yes, please, and then she'd ask something else like, must I change this diaper or something? And I'll be like, yes. And then eventually, we got comfortable. I would say, yes, you must, because she doesn't use the word should. She uses the word must. And then I realized like, oh my goodness, changing the word should to must is so powerful, because it is defining what I'm expecting her to do in her role. Not like a casual, should I not, consider it, should I not? But people that take action on their health, and the people that we see really are successful with their exercise, slowly start changing or already own this idea of their shoulds need to turn into musts. So if you think about the things that you should do for your health, those are the things you must do for your health. Like, all of us do not like suffer from a lack of information. We might suffer from we might want some help deciphering some of this information, but none of us have a lack of information for exercise. So we know we shouldn't exercise, we must exercise. We shouldn't do MAT, we must do MAT, right? So the things that are the shoulds in your head, many people that change them to a must will be much more successful in pursuing their health and fitness goals.
Exactly. And you think about the weight that each word carries. Should implies at some level that, like, all right, it would be nice if this got done, but it's not, a threat if it doesn't get done. Meaning not accomplishing this, not doing this activity, not doing this task, not, making these choices. It's not that detrimental if I don't do it. Versus if you say you must do it, well, that's a much more severe consequence. You don't even have to spell out the consequence, but it's like an implied consequence if you don't do the thing. So if you're like, yeah, I know I should exercise. Well, if you say, well, no, I must exercise, that means that's now a non-negotiable. Like, yeah, I should eat better. No, I must eat better. Well, that's a non-negotiable. Oh, yeah, I should get to sleep by 10. No, I must get to sleep by 10. Well, that's a non-negotiable. Yeah, I should drink more water. No, I must drink more water. Well, that's a non-negotiable. So all these stories that we tell ourselves about, the things we know that we should do, it would be like, yeah, it would be nice if I did those, but what we're saying is, but I don't really believe that the consequences are that great if I don't do them. Versus you say, no, I must do this. This is something I absolutely must do. Well, that's implying that you perceive there to be some kind of significant consequence if you don't do that thing. And so what we are suggesting is you need to elevate the priority of the things that you know that you say you should do. You need to elevate the priority of those, to things that you absolutely must do. And that makes a huge shift. When you can make that shift in your mind of like, okay, yeah, I should exercise. No, I must exercise today. Now all of a sudden you feel the weight of like, okay, well, there's a consequence if I don't, so I must do it. Now you get it done. I know that, yeah, I shouldn't eat out for lunch today. No, I must not eat out. I must, bring my own lunch. I must prepare my own food. You're saying, okay, there's a consequence if I don't do that. And so that for a lot of people creates a tremendous shift in their mindset and how they view the actions that they know they need to take, which then ultimately actually changes the actions that they take on a consistent basis. And so that's the first thing that we want to discuss with you is shifting your shoulds of the things that you know that would help you out, shifting those shoulds to musts. Make a must. Shift your shoulds to musts. And for us, we see that be tremendously impactful for so many of our clients who either start out with those things as musts or make that jump from shoulds to musts.
That's right. That is huge. And really, the way that you think about these shoulds and musts are going to, I'm not a psychology expert, but as much as I have understood, you really do create your reality. So if you start saying those words, I must do this, I must do this, then that is how you're going to create it to be a mandatory part of your life. And as Charlie keeps saying, that there are consequences to when you're not doing that. There truly are. I mean, you are responsible for your health, and that is what leads us to the next point, where you are truly responsible for your health. And some people view that their external circumstances are going to determine how they feel, how they act, what's happening to their body. And some people view that they own the power to change how they are feeling, how they're acting, and how their health is. And this is the difference between having what's called an external locus of control and an internal locus of control. So someone that has an external locus of control means that they feel the things that are controlling them, controlling how they feel, controlling their actions, controlling their health, are outside of their body, outside of their control. So things like a health diagnosis or travel conditions, their family status, their current work situation, everything that is outside of their control, they might blame and say, well, of course I can't do that because I have X, Y, and Z condition. Well, of course I can't be a runner because, I've got a knee issue. Of course I can't, you're kind of putting it outside of your control versus someone that says, I've got a knee issue, so I'm going to make sure I strength train, I get my MAT in so that I can be a runner, right? Or, yeah, I got diagnosed with, chronic, eye blinking, but I can practice not blinking my eyes. Yeah, that was a silly example, but you know what I'm saying? So So when people start looking into their life and find out where are they handing off control to something that they can't control, like outside of them, then their life feels out of control and they kind of become a victim in that way. And so it's almost more like a practice, right? It's constantly looking at your life and saying, okay, where am I giving up control and where can I start taking it back so that I can start taking action on it and not be a victim to this thing that's going on.
Exactly. And this is such a huge tell for somebody's ability to stay consistent with the things that they know that they need to stay consistent with. Because just like it's, shifting from a should to a must, it's like, okay, well, these are the things that I must do. I'm not going to let outside circumstances dictate my ability to do that. These are the things I need to do. So Julie, you brought up the, okay, I want to start running, and my knee's bothering me, or there's something else going on that I feel like is out of my control. Okay, well, it's a must to me that I control the things that I can control. Those things I can't control, out over there, those things I can't control. But right here, this is what I can control. This is what I'm going to focus on. And this is where I'm going to put my energy, my attention, my effort. And what we see time and time again is when somebody focuses on the things that they can control, that they have direct influence over, all the stuff that everybody else blames as far as like their reasons why they're not able to do X, Y, or Z, the people who just focus on the things that they can control, those things don't actually come into their world in terms of like influencing their ability to get stuff done. They still get the stuff done because they're focusing on what they can control. They are not hampered by the fact that they have a busy schedule, or they have kids, or they have a job, or they're not sleeping as much as they would like, or they were traveling or whatever. It's like, no, these are the things that I can control. This is what I need to do. These are my musts. So I am going to get these things done. And those people tend to be way more consistent, not only with their actions, but with their progress as well. It's not this roller coaster of like, okay, I had a good, 2-3 weeks, and now all of a sudden it just feels like my body's falling apart. Oh, it's old age. And it's like, oh, I had a good month, but oh my gosh, now it just feels like, I'm spiraling out of control again. There's nothing I can do about it. It's like, the things that I can control, that is where my focus lives. All right. And everything else doesn't matter, because these are the only things that I can influence. This is what's under my control. This is what I'm putting my energy. This is where I'm putting my attention. This is where I'm putting my focus. And those clients do significantly better in terms of the results they get with their strength training and with MAT, and their ability to maintain those results for longer periods through their life. So those are just two things that we have seen time and again over the last decade and a half of working with clients with MAT, of common characteristics of people who do the best, not just with MAT or with their strength training, but feel like they are really in control of their own life. They're not a subject to external circumstances. Like, no, I'm living life on my terms, physically and otherwise. They have that internal locus of control where they focus on the things that are under their control and under their influence. And the things that most people say they should do, for them, they say, no, these are things that I must do. And because they must do them, they stay very consistent with doing them. So if you're hearing this right now and you're feeling like, oh, like I'm just not as consistent as I would like to be, or, I know I should be doing this, but I'm not. Those are two things that we would invite you to implement within your own life. Change those shoulds to musts and focus on the things that you can control, as opposed to all the other external factors that you can't control. And if you would like to experience what we do here at Muscle Activation Schaumburg using muscle activation techniques, all you need to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to our website, www.matschaumburg.com. Click the big green button that says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We always appreciate your eyes on YouTube, your ears on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you consume our content. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a rating and review, it always means the world to us when you do. We are wishing you a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week.
This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.